Mueller, She Wrote is currently brought to you by our amazing subscribers who get our weekly newsletter, AG's show notes, bonus content, and our awesome merch. You can support us by visiting MuellerSheWrote.com and clicking on subscribe. We're starting a new thing this week where proceeds from subscribers are going to be donated to progressive candidates to flip Congress blue so that the House can impeach Trump. So follow us on Twitter at Mueller, She Wrote and like us on Facebook to win a PlayStation. We're 15% of the way there. And thank you so much for listening. This podcast contains explicit language.
So to be clear, Mr. Trump has no financial relationships with any Russian oligarchs.
That's what he said. That's what I said. That's obviously what our position is.
I'm not aware of any of those activities. I have been called a surrogate at a time or two in that campaign, and I not have communications with the Russians.
What do I have to get involved with Putin for? I have nothing to do with Putin. I've never spoken to him. I don't know anything about him other than he will respect me. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
So, it is political. You're a communist.
No, Mr. Green. Communism is just a red herring. Like all members of the oldest profession, I'm a capitalist.
Welcome to Mueller, She Wrote. I'm AG, and I'm a Mueller junkie.
Hi, AG.
And with me, as always, is Jaleesa. Say hi.
Hey.
Hey, how you doing, Jaleesa?
I'm good.
Excellent. And Jordan Coburn's with us.
Hello.
Please call me AG. I have to stay relatively anonymous because I work for the executive branch of the federal government. And this week, by the way, marks my 1-year anniversary of Trump's Office of General Counsel submitting a FOIA request to get my employee records. Ooh. So that was fucking terrifying. So I'm AG. So I'd also like to welcome a very special guest this week. We have Shannon Woodward with us from Raising Hope and Westworld, and she's here. Say hi.
Hi.
We're so excited to have you.
I'm very excited to be here.
That's so. I love that you listen to this. This is so great. And now I can't wait to get like your political insight. So I'm very excited. So I didn't get my indictments this week, you guys, but I do want to have a chat with you later and talk about realistic expectations, specifically mine. I've been having unhealthy fantasies about Mueller serving subpoenas that I need to hash out. But before we get started, I want to make a correction. On last week's show, I said that Felix Sater was indicted in the Southern District of New York, and he was actually subpoenaed. So fix that in your notes. I know you all take notes. And I apologize for that error. So this week, Jordan's going to cover the fallout from the Nunes memo as a continuation of her report last week on Notilda Nunes. And Jaleesa's going to talk to us about Russian sanctions and why they haven't been implemented yet, even though they were due January 29th, and even as early as last October. I'll be going over my zealous desires for indictments and plea deals and how to cope when you're a Mueller junkie, which I am. And today, like I said, I'm so excited to have you, Shannon, and you just, whatever you want to say, I'm here for you.
I'm mostly here to listen because I'm a Mueller junkie too, but I get a lot of my information from you, so I may be just like asking you questions.
Wonderful. We'll play Stump AG.
I'll play the audience here.
There we go. But yeah, feel free to chime in anytime with questions or insights or anything that you have. So, you guys, this has been another insane week of news. So let's just get started with just the facts. All right, on Monday, we'll start with Monday because nothing really interesting happened Sunday. But on Monday, Andy McCabe quits his job at the FBI early. This makes me sad, first of all, because he's adorable. He will be featured in our Sexy Justice calendar coming soon. That's coming in March or April, so get ready for that. And if you subscribe, you get one. And we knew he was on his way out ever since he made himself a witness against House Trump by corroborating Comey's memos. He was one of the Comey Five, as I call them.
Right.
And, because he corroborated Comey's stunning conversations with Trump about loyalty and Mike Flynn and all that. So remember last week how excited I was about FBI Director Wray replaced General Counsel of FBI Baker with Bente. Well, he's replacing McCabe with Bowditch. Bowditch is also one of the Comey Five. If you remember, it was McCabe, Baker, Bowditch, Ribicki, and Gaddis. We haven't heard anything from Gaddis recently. I don't even know if he still works there. I have to look that up.
Do you think it's only a matter of time then before Bowditch is out?
Yeah, and I just think it's a nice big fucking double barrel middle fingers from Ray
right.
to Trump to be like, oh yeah, I have to fire McCabe? I'm going to replace him with Bowditch, somebody else who is on Team Comey. So I think that's fantastic. It's nice to have a White House in Comey's old, or White House. It's nice to have a white hat in Comey's old position.
Oh, yeah.
Also on Monday, the House Intelligence Committee voted to release the Nunes memo. It's important to note they may also release the transcript of that meeting, and these were my notes on Monday. They actually do end up releasing the transcripts of that meeting.
Okay.
It's reported to highlight that there were Republicans who seemed strong-armed into voting for the release of that memo.
No.
And it reminds me of, and I know, Shannon, we were talking, you listened to Slow Burn, about how Gerald Ford strong-armed Republican members of the House, or the Senate Committee on the investigation into Watergate to not give the subpoenas, to not enter the subpoenas. So I was like, there's so many parallels.
Shocking.
Yeah, so, and also the New York Times reported on Monday that Rosenstein's job was in jeopardy. If they fire him, he can be replaced by someone who will veto any further investigative routes requested by Mueller. Remember, Mueller has to get the okay from the Deputy Attorney General whenever the investigation takes him down a new path.
Right.
Basically, I think what Rosenstein was saying is we meet on the regular, and he goes over what he's investigating, and if something comes up that I don't think is within the scope, I would tell him not to, and so far I haven't told him not to do anything. So that I thought that was, that's also something that Adam Schiff had said. He said, more than firing Mueller, I think it's firing Rosenstein that could be a problem. Monday at midnight, the clock expired to impose Russian sanctions, voted on by Congress and signed, albeit reluctantly, by Trump. This is the second deadline for imposing Russian sanctions that the Trump White House has missed. Remember all the times people from House Trump promised the Russians in easing up on sanctions?
Oh, well, here it is.
Yeah, me too.
What about that boat? Have you read about this? The boat that docked in Boston Harbor that has a particular amount of Russian gas on it for the first time. What? Okay, I'm not being articulate enough to announce this news on my own. If you haven't read it,
I don't know about the boat.
We should Google this in a minute. There's a second one on the way too.
Whoa!
I'll make a note. That's a whole
Russian gas.
It's only. I feel like it's only 20% of it is Russian gas, and quite a bit of it is from other places. But it's the first time that Russian gas has been. This is what I understand.
That's interesting.
I feel like I was not sober enough when I was reading this to be particularly succinct. But
it sounds like something they would do, honestly, in a sneaky way, just little by little, right?
If you had read about it, my question was going to be, does this have something to do with the not signing of the sanctions? And but
I do know about the 3 Russian spies that were here.
Right, and only one of them was arrested, correct?
None of them were arrested.
None of them were?
No, this isn't the spies
different spies.
So many spies.
This isn't the spies Carter Page met with in 2013. These are the spies that were here a couple weeks ago.
Oh.
One of them sanctioned from the United States that had to be approved to be let in by Rex Tillerson, the head of the State Department, meeting at the White House. We didn't find out about it until Reuters translated a Russian news article.
Oh my god.
So, yeah, you want to talk about that's a coincidence too. Google the gas thing.
I'm Googling that right now.
They're creeping up on us.
I'll find it too. I think I read.
Yeah.
Oil is the way to our hearts, though. So
it is.
That's
true.
That's a good. That's a good start game.
It is. So you can draw off the coast now, except for Florida. On Tuesday, again, as I said earlier at the beginning of the show, it marked my 1-year anniversary of the day that Trump's Office of General Counsel submitted a FOIA request, that's a Freedom of Information Act request, for my employee records with the federal government. One of the many reasons I go by AG on this show, and that was a really terrifying week. I contacted my boss, because the public relations people had to contact me to tell me that my request, when you submit a FOIA request, the person whose records you're requesting have to be informed.
Oh, okay.
And so they called me to tell me that the Office of General Counsel, Trump's Federal Office of General Counsel, was requesting my employee records.
Wow. That's insane.
And I was like, did he find out I ran as a Bernie surrogate, or was it because I ran to be one of his delegates? And I'm like, is he rounding up all the Democrats that work in the executive branch?
Right. And what did you do?
So so far I'm still there. So I don't know what's going on, but Anyway, it's been a year.
They'll be coming for you later.
Oh,
don't
yeah.
worry.
If we get more popular, he's coming for you.
I'll go, can I live with Comey if I get fired? That seems like a great place to be.
Oh, yeah.
House arrest with
Comey's arms. It turns out there's a second dossier corroborating the P tapes.
No.
Yes.
The Guardian reported it on Tuesday that a
Link
journalist named Cody Shearer, and I don't like this guy. He's an activist. He worked close with the Clintons in the 90s.
Okay.
But it does seem to corroborate the P tape, so there's that. That makes me happy. So.
Do you not like him because of his association with the Clintons? Or?
No, he's just a
fishy
leftist.
Guy? Oh, okay, extreme leftist. Like
he's like an activist. Like it would be like me, like having like relying like Trump could easily discredit anything I bring forward.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
because I'm such a Democrat.
The authority. Yeah. I feel you.
So, there's that. Did you find the gas stuff?
Yes, Shannon found it. So the headline reads, and this was published by the Washington Post, it reads, tanker carrying liquefied natural gas from Russia's Arctic arrives in Boston. That was January 28th of this year.
And there's a second one on the way, apparently. That's in a different article. But
what is going on, though?
It's very strange.
Any Russian thing.
Should have a gas party, like the Tea Party in Boston.
Oh, just dump it all in the harbor?
No, but guys, the fish. I mean, I feel like the tea was fine for the fish, but the gas is like not dope for the fish. So
just keep them up for a few days. Totally fine.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, okay, you're right. The Daily Beast reported that during a closed-door meeting of the House Intelligence Committee to vote on releasing the Nunes memo, Devin refused to answer. I'm just going to call him Devin.
Yeah.
He refused to answer whether or not the White House had a hand in crafting the memo. He refused to answer that question. So
little D.
That's an interesting tidbit in that article. Just one little sentence at the end of that article. That same article saying that Bannon's House testimony has been postponed again.
Okay.
That's fact. Now, my feeling about this is that he's flipped and he's fully cooperating with Mueller, which is why they don't want him to testify to Congress because everything he says will get
goes
back
to Trump, right?
Damn. Yeah, that's very telling.
No one touched on that because the rest of the article was like, whoa,
right?
Because there's a second P tape.
That's an important detail,
right at
though.
the end, it's like, and Bannon was postponed again.
Yeah, gotta read between the lines.
And the Justice Department petitioned the White House to block the release of the Nunes memo. Basically, Wray and Rosenstein went to the White House and said, please don't release it. Come on. And, of course, Trump released it anyway. We'll get there. It's like my notes go in the week's order, so it's like Monday we were thinking about releasing it. Tuesday they went to the White House. The Hill reported Tuesday that Mueller will interview Carallo in the next 2 weeks, and that he will tell Mueller that while on a conference call on Air Force One coming back from the G20 summit last July, Hope Hicks said in front of Trump that the Donald Trump Jr. emails about the June 2016 meeting, quote, would never get out. So basically saying whatever message you craft to say what the meeting was about, if you say it was about adoptions, that's fine because the emails saying what it was really about will never get out. They'll never see the light of day. So she's going to be testifying to Mueller.
And it has not been confirmed yet that testimony has happened, right? Because that was a few months ago. Everyone was talking all about it, and this is maybe what we've been waiting on.
Yeah. I don't think because we've been waiting for Hope Hicks to testify.
Yeah,
and
for a
she
long
might
time.
have already, and she might be coming back.
Okay, got
because
it.
now Carallo, because in the book, the Fire and Fury book, he said, I was on Air Force One, and he quit because he's like, this is obstruction of justice, y'all, I'm out. And so he left. And so maybe Mueller was like, I'm going to talk to Hope Hicks about this and ask her that because he didn't know about that line of questioning. This is all conjecture. I'm just guessing, but so that's she's going to apparently testify to that, or Carallo will testify that she said that. So I don't know if he's bringing Hicks back in, but I'm sure he will.
Okay.
We also learned Tuesday that Trump is talking to friends about having Sessions indict Mueller, so he would have to testify to a grand jury. That is a fact.
Oh, jeez.
And my assertion is that Trump is a fucking child.
Indict him for what?
It's just a Hail Mary.
For having 2 feet?
Yeah. Look at you with your feet attached to your legs.
Oh my god. Try to be a little bit less obvious also, maybe, with
I don't think he even realized.
No, he's a man with a plan.
I just go straight to the source, guys.
He's a winner. You know, he's a doer.
I'm a no bullshit kind of guy.
You gonna threaten me with the grand jury? You gonna threaten me? Guess what? I'm gonna grand jury you too. What's the grand jury again?
Perfect.
I'm gonna make my own grand jury.
The grandest.
It's gonna be the grandest.
It's gonna be the best jury. It's all my friends.
Tremendous jury.
Gold everywhere.
Hope Hicks is the judge, right, babe?
Nikki Haley will be there. Like under the podium. Okay.
Oh boy.
We learned from Russian media. Here you go. This is what I was talking about. The 3 spy chiefs from Russia's 3 intelligence organizations. They're spy chiefs. They aren't like government officials. These are spy chiefs. Were here in the U.S. and met with Pompeo, the head of the CIA, sometime in the last 2 weeks. One of the spy chiefs is sanctioned and would have had to get special permission from the Secretary of State of the United States. The State Department refused to comment, but one wonders if this might have anything to do with Trump ignoring the sanctions deadline, which was approved 517-5 last August.
Like, what else gets
But
that?
he met with the head of the CIA?
Yeah, he met with Pompeo, the director of the CIA. The 3 guys.
Interesting.
Yeah. Maybe they were talking about gas ships in Boston.
Right.
Yeah.
On Wednesday, good old Trey Benghazi Gowdy announced he won't run again for Congress in 2018, and I'll tell you what, we here at Mueller, She Wrote are pretty broken up about it. We're not. That's the fact. My feeling here is that we now have 34, actually I think it's up to 35 since I took this note, Republicans jumping ship, and everyone is sort of asking why. I think that if any of these guys want any kind of future in politics or the judiciary, they're going to have to abandon Trump because they know Mueller's about to lay some shit down.
Yeah.
And they don't want to be associated with him now. They got their tax scam passed, so they're good. They got their money. And we were talking about this a little bit earlier. They have got this diabolical plan to get back judgeships and governorships and mayorships to redraw district lines so that they can, tip the Congress again.
It's insane. But they're playing the game. They're making the rules, and technically so far they're winning at it, which is
they're so much better at
playing this crappy game. Yeah.
So, on Wednesday, the FBI, headed by Christopher Wray, who was handpicked by Trump himself to backfill Comey, sent a letter expressing that the FBI has, quote, grave concerns about material omissions of fact that fundamentally impact the memo's accuracy, about the Nunes memo. Basically, your memo is bullshit, is basically what Wray is saying. It's important to note that Rod Rosenstein and the DOJ did not try to pull that sentiment back at all, so that's kind of the DOJ giving their okay to that. They're, usually the DOJ never really comes out and supports anything like that, but them not saying we don't agree means they agree.
Even just the fact that they're allowing the Mueller investigation to continue is, I mean, obviously they don't agree, right? Otherwise they would have stopped this a long time ago.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. We also learned from CNN on Wednesday that a couple of days before Rosenstein testified to Congress, and you can check out my coverage of that testimony in episode 7, it's fun to listen, by the way, to the past episodes, knowing what we know now, so check that out. But a couple of days prior to the testimony, Rosenstein's testimony, Trump was worried about it and asked Rosenstein if he was on his team. And McGahn was in the room when he did it. I don't know when Trump's going to realize McGahn is not on his fucking side.
Maybe they were asking about his sexuality?
Oh. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. When I read that, I was like, wait a second. Maybe this isn't political.
You could be his lawyer. That could work.
I'm Trump's lawyer.
Do you play for Team Trump? You know what I'm saying? You play?
Do you only sleep with Trumps?
I love
It's tremendous. My team.
He should also learn to stop asking that question to people.
Seriously.
You'd think he would have learned.
Jesus Christ, the same mistake, fucking again.
Yeah, and that being the fact, my take on this personally is that it doesn't likely amount to obstruction of justice by itself, but it certainly supports a pattern of Trump asking for loyalty. And if Trump fires Rosenstein, which seems to be his pattern of asking for loyalty and not getting it, then that will also bolster corrupt intent needed to prove obstruction. So McGahn was in the room. I think McGahn is leaking stuff. I mean, I think, we learned this past week that John Kelly was calling the Department of Justice in violation of his own policy, mind you, to yell at him about the White House's expectations of the Nunes memo. That is supposed to be McGahn's job. Anyone who calls the DOJ from the White House, it's supposed to be White House counsel, not Kelly, so not the chief of staff.
Yeah.
But he's not doing that. McGahn's not doing that. And, I think Priebus is the mole. And remember I said Bannon is likely cooperating. And we know McGahn, Bannon, and Priebus have the same lawyer. Oh. So Trump just keeps saying stupid shit in front of McGahn. And I
in
can't
front of the homies, yeah.
figure out, why haven't we all see it, dude?
He doesn't watch our news, though. I think that's what it is.
Right.
It's so true.
Yeah. He's got his Fox News and his McDonald's, and he's only listening to his... the people who give him his brief, he won't read anything, so they have to tell him about it, and they never talk about the Russia investigation because it upsets him.
Yeah.
And it looks like they've got Gates, too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, snap, yeah.
Yeah, Gates is, I think, about to flip for sure. And last Wednesday, the transcripts of the HIC meeting where they voted to release the memo were released. And that proved the earlier reporting from the Daily, or from Axios or the Daily Beast, that he did, in fact, refuse to answer the question. Nunes refused to answer whether or not the White House was involved in drafting the memo. We all know that
it's basically answering it, by not answering it.
And it was hilarious because Donald Trump Jr. put out a tweet yesterday.
It was just a fart. It was actually just a fart.
Just a fart. But basically the tweet said, talking about the memo, he said it was enough to get McCabe fired.
Exactly.
And I was like...
I saw that. He's an idiot. They've been trying to sell that he resigned.
So he was fired. So he was fired because of the memo that you wouldn't let the FBI see. So, or the DOJ. So that means he was fired by someone outside of the FBI and the Department of Justice that had seen the memo, which is Trump, who hadn't received the memo yet from the House Intelligence Committee.
We need a chart, man.
So
I was going to say, they need like a lies flow chart for themselves.
We're going to need the chick from Homeland.
Totally. He knows what's in the fucking memo. And they put out, I saw on Maddow, she showed an interview with Chris Hayes and Carter Page last October, where he said, you just wait until Paul Ryan releases the FISA application and it'll clear my name. And everyone thought he was just nuts, because he is.
Right.
Like, what the
But he knew exactly what was going to happen.
He knew what the memo was last October. And that was right around the time, if you guys remember, I did the report about Nunes sneaking off. This was around the first week of December that this report came out. And I talked about it on that episode. I think it was 8 or 6, I don't know. And it was that there was a secret subset of House Intelligence Committee Republicans that were sneaking off-site, taking classified documents with them, and meeting to try to discredit the Department of Justice and the FBI. And that would have been right around the time that Carter Page had that interview. And it would have been it would have been about a year after Carter Page was initially put under surveillance. So that means they all knew. And if you tell me they weren't working with the White House.
Oh, of course.
Okay, so that is just a conspiracy to obstruct justice. And I'm sure, like, we hear all this, and I'm sitting there like, oh my God, this is terrible, oh my God. And Mueller's probably like, ha, ha.
Right? He's going to write the best book out of this.
He's like, I got this.
He's going to have the juiciest one.
Maybe after he retires.
Yeah,
we might have to wait until like 30 years to hear
Truly,
everything.
the best thing for him to do is to just draw this out as long as he can, because in their consistent panic, they just continue to make absurd decisions. They're just getting so flustered that it's like, I mean, why continue? We might as well just scare the shit out of you till you just admit it. Somebody's just gonna rant on television like, okay, I did it, but it's my right to do it. All right,
like Legally Blonde.
Yeah,
and don't you know you don't watch Perm Solution out within the first 24 hours?
Exactly what looks like is happening. I mean, I wish it would.
Right. Yeah, they do. They just keep incriminating themselves.
Yeah, and
by fucking tweet too.
Yeah.
Check.
Like Carter Page, you just wait. They're gonna exonerate me. Paul Ryan told me. I mean, I think he will.
That is a perfect Carter Page impression.
He is kind of a snippet.
So whiny.
So, all right. So also on Wednesday, Flynn's sentencing hearing was postponed. And last week they postponed Papadopoulos's. You guys, we talked about that last week.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Papa Dop.
We had such yes.
Papa Dop.
Yeah, Papa Dop. So now we're looking around the end of April, early May for those hearings to take place. May 14th is the big Manafort trial. It was the Manafort and Gates trial. Now I think it's just the Manafort trial.
Yeah.
And we should have your sexy justice calendars ready to go by then.
Just in time.
Just in time for that. So Thursday. Now, I started seeing Twitter rumors flying around late Wednesday around 11 p.m. that FBI and the intelligence agencies are pretty pissed off that no one's taking their view on the Nunes memo seriously. And I felt like they would start dropping leaks. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, not to disappoint, Thursday morning, the Wall Street Journal reported that the FBI has released documents pertaining to Carter Page, having been under FISA surveillance since 2013, completely tearing down the Nunes memo theory that FISA warrants were based on the dossier. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, would be totally okay if they were.
At this point, yeah, definitely.
Because nothing in that memo says that anything in the dossier is incorrect or false. It just says it was gathered by a guy who doesn't like Trump. Where are you going to find a guy who likes Trump?
Exactly.
Also on Thursday, Pelosi wrote a letter to Speaker Ryan calling for the removal of Chairman Nunes. A copy of that letter will be included in this week's newsletter if you want to check that out. CNN reported Thursday multiple sources at the White House say Trump sees the Nunes memo as a tool to discredit the Russia investigation. He said those words with his mouth.
Good luck.
Probably with McGahn in the room, and that's why we know about it. The White House also approved the release of the Nunes memo that day. We quickly learned from top White House aides that House Trump is worried that Wray will quit over the memo release, which he did not. Which I'm glad about. I think I want him to stay.
We need him. Yeah.
Stay there. He seems to be doing like things that I want him to do. So stay there. Oh, you're gonna.
That's just my face.
She's intrigued. You gotta pull it in.
On the edge of her seat.
Mouth agape with anticipation. The president of the FBI Agents Association released the following statement Wednesday. Quote, the FBI Agents Association appreciates the FBI Director Chris Wray standing shoulder to shoulder with the men and women of the FBI as we work together to protect our country from criminal and national security threats. As Director Wray noted, FBI special agents have remained steadfast in their dedication to professionalism, and we remain focused on our important work to protect the country from terrorists and criminals, both domestic and international. Special agents take a solemn oath to our country and to the Constitution, and the American public continues to be well served by the world's preeminent law enforcement agency. So,
classy.
That was a nice statement.
Sorry, who was that from?
That's the union leader for the FBI.
Hot
FBI
note.
Agents Association.
It's a hot note.
That's a sexy note.
The word memo's dead, so.
True.
Hot note, I like it.
It's a hot note.
Hot notes coming soon. And then we also found out Thursday that Gates' attorneys, his original attorneys, withdrew from the case. And the reasons were sealed. And if you think about the reasons being sealed, the only reason you would seal that information is because you don't want Trump to know Gates is flipping. So I'm pretty sure that's my thought. That's a feeling.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But he's flipping, you guys.
They make it harder and harder every day to stick behind them, so I imagine this will just keep happening.
Oh yeah,
it will.
And over and over.
The rats are they're rats, but they're not dumb.
You guys seen the
Those
shower
deals start to look better and better, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Mueller's probably a much nicer guy to work with anyway than Trump, so like I would rather, you know.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Axios reported Thursday night the White House was worried the memo is a dud. I think he's so fantastic because they've been working on it for a year. I mean, if you think about it, the month that they started surveying Carter Page is the month that Trump tweeted, "I'm being wiretapped by the Obama administration since last October," and that October is when the FISA warrant started on Page. So he equated that with wiretapping Trump Tower.
What an idiot.
After Carter Page already left his
I see where he was coming from, but
group.
Does he not like ask anyone like for information? Does he not check with one person that just to say, hey, is he wiretapping me? Because nobody would say yes.
No.
Like it just seemed like.
But his campaign was sort of being wiretapped because a guy who used to work on the campaign was being.
He could have just held his cards like closer to his. I mean, it's Trump we're talking about, but
I want to play poker with Trump.
Oh my God, yes.
Dude,
Take
I would
all
not
his
strip
money.
poker.
How many hands do you think before he just goes all in? I bet he goes all in like first hand. I'm all in.
I'm all in.
I got nothing, you idiot.
What's a river? I don't know.
It's okay. It doesn't matter if I lose. I have all the money in the world.
He totally doesn't.
I don't need it. It's embarrassing to take your money. I have the worst Trump impression, by the way. I'm aware of it.
Carter Page.
Yeah, it's not very good. I haven't spent any time working on it.
That's funny. Your Trump
It's okay.
sounds
It's
a little
hacked to have a
Carter
good
Page.
Trump impression. Yeah.
It's not good.
It
works.
The Daily Beast reported that Hannity has been advising Trump on the Nunes memo, and I don't mean he's
Amazing.
I don't
Of
mean
course.
he's watching Fox News. I mean he's on the phone with Sean Hannity. He has had phone calls with Hannity to advise him on the memo.
And good for Hannity. This is probably his dream. But come on, Trump.
Well, I sometimes wonder, like, that's a job. Cable news is a job, and you make money at it. Do they really believe what they're saying, or is it just their job and they're actors?
Probably half the time.
I'm always like,
Maddow really, you can tell she's excited over nothing. Like half the time, like she loves what she does.
well,
But some people,
it's different when you're reporting the truth.
It's interesting
point.
because I think watching some of these people like Alex Jones and Hannity, they are so angry that they don't care. I think they really don't care. They
numb.
hate liberals so much because of some other childhood
get
root thing that
laid.
has nothing to do with politics.
Right.
But
Get laid
they,
way more than
they
they
just channel that anger straight into like
Topical
just,
politics.
Yeah, and, I mean, it's like the Hannity clip where what was it from like last week where he was saying, there's no way that something's true. Okay, it turns out Fox News just confirmed it. But it doesn't matter. That's the president's right. Like,
Here's
I
a
can't
car
remember
chase.
what it was now. Like, but it was about Trump, and he was like, there's no way, that's not true.
And then
It's
he
made up."
finds out
And then he goes,
just backtracks.
Fox News just confirmed it. And he's like, okay, well, whatever. It's his
It
right
was-
to do that.
It was the report that Trump tried to fire Mueller.
There we go. That's what it was.
He's like,
That's
he
what it
never
was.
did that. That's stupid. Okay, we are now confirming he did that. Here's a car chase.
that sounds about
I'm
right. though.
amazed they even said that.
My Hannity sounds
they
like my
even
Trump.
accepted
The only
that.
reason they did is because Fox News as an entity had confirmed. And he was like, oh,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Right. It's blind hatred. I think you're right about
It's
that.
really
It's
convenient
just
when you're on a
rage.
news
Yeah.
network.
Exactly.
It
Yeah.
wouldn't matter. They were this angry and crazy about like football games in middle school. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah.
these are just it's baseless.
It hits home for them.
Yeah, about girls who wouldn't sleep with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they get mad. Yeah, that's them. They drive Mitsubishi Eclipses, all of them.
Very, very drunk all the time.
Yes, yes. Let's see. Kushner's legal team appointed a PR firm.
It's late.
It's about time.
It's a late move.
He's about to be so fucked. It's like,
Can you imagine
holding
opening
out.
that case? It's like, all right, let's get started.
Should I get some new khakis or no?
do I need a haircut? What can I do? Really push the Jewish thing. Push the Jewish
Oh, there
thing.
you go.
The White House has set up a trust fund for legal fees for those involved in the Mueller investigation. That was an interesting sleuthing by the Maddow show. They found this little trust fund thing, and that's where they're putting the money for their legal fees. They've spent, I think the White House, I think I read this, I could be wrong, I may be correcting this next week, but $25 million so far in legal fees.
And where is this money coming from?
Where do you think?
From the campaign fundraising?
From the wall profits. No, it's coming from taxpayers.
Oh, that's depressing.
Because they set
Actually,
aside.
Yeah, no, I think it might be coming from campaign donations. I'll have to look that up.
I hope
Yeah,
so.
I'm curious.
Really?
It would make more sense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now I know we pay the McGann.
Yeah.
Even-
but
Does it cost for any of the other legal proceedings that are happening in Congress? Does any of that ever cost any?
my thoughts are these are private attorneys and they have to pay for them by themselves.
Okay.
And they would probably be putting money into that trust fund from campaign donations. Campaign finance.
That's a lot of money to have raised from a campaign a year ago.
They make it.
They
the Koch
never
brothers,
stop. They never stop.
What? They never closed the account?
No, because they opened they officially declared their candidacy like
For
2
2020?
days after.
Oh,
2
my
days
God.
after
After
the
inauguration.
inauguration, so they could continue to fundraise, and no one had ever
Trump's
done
been
it.
running for
Wow.
president since the first day he was president.
Truly, and so like I sign up for I get the Trump emails.
Yeah.
I mean, it's every day.
Constantly.
That's
Constant.
why
It is constant.
he can go to Mar-a-Lago and have the tax money pay for it.
And that's why he's doing rallies.
Or not the tax money, but the campaign donations pay for that stuff because he's campaigning right
That's
now.
insane.
And
How
that's
do
why
you
he
do
calls
that?
when he tours around and talks to people,
Yeah.
that's why he called their campaign rallies. So he actually can spend all the campaign donation money. The Koch brothers are going to donate $20 million. Right now,
I
the
saw
Republicans
that.
have $69 million in their coffers, and we have
I'm
about
so
$7
sad
million.
right now.
Really?
Yeah, we're being outraised.
Wow.
But it's from like 3 dudes.
Yeah.
Jeb
And because
raised
they
a
got
lot
their
of
tax
money, and
breaks.
he still
Yeah.
lost. Hopefully, money isn't everything, right?
Well, once the election starts getting close and we get the that kind of Bernie grassroots donations going to whoever the
this
candidate
time
is.
around.
Can someone text
Especially.
like Mark Zuckerberg or like Bill
Yes,
Gates
anyone.
or something?
Come through.
Seriously,
Jesus.
step
I mean,
up.
I
Oprah.
know the Gateses are handling
Warren
NPR
Buffett.
and stuff. Yeah, Warren Buffett, Donde.
We need someone.
Don't do work.
Our own Batman, a political Batman.
Yes.
Political Batman.
Where's our Bruce Wayne?
There you go.
Friday is when the Nunes memo came out. Jordan will be going over that memo. Yes. And the Hill put out an article reporting that lawyers close to the Mueller investigation believe he could indict Trump for obstruction of justice. That's been our position since the beginning, and I really hope that that's what goes down. So
Yeah.
we'll be right back in a few minutes with Jaleesa and Jordan to talk about Russia sanctions and the Nunes memo. Thanks for listening to Mueller, She Wrote. Please follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. That'll give you a chance to win a PlayStation 4. We're also on Instagram at Mueller, She Wrote, and you can now subscribe to us and help make Mueller, She Wrote by visiting MuellerSheWrote.com. Subscribers get access to bonus content, our weekly newsletter. I'm going to be putting out my show notes for you guys to all have, so thank you so much for listening.
Broads don't belong in broadcasting? Is that the kind of professional courtesy you teach your news department?
Why, that's just terrible. I don't know how many times I've told those boys never call chicks broads.
Why, you slimy! Oh!
Sweetheart, you and I have had this discussion 1,000,000 times. There's never been a woman anchor.
Mr. Harkin, this city needs its news.
Oh.
And you are going to deprive them of that because I have breasts? Exquisite breasts? Now, I am going to go on, and if you want to try and stop me, bring it on. Because I am good at 3 things: fighting, screwing, and reading the news. Now, I've already done one of those today, so what's the other one going to be, huh?
Okay, we're back. Jaleesa, we had a tweet from Samira LV, or I think I'm pronouncing that right, at Samira LV on Twitter, asking us why people weren't screaming about the sanctions. And I agree, so I wanted to dedicate an entire segment to it.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the Russia sanctions that were supposed to be implemented last October and again this week that weren't.
Definitely. Okay, good question. We should be screaming for sure. Sanctions are a big deal right now because this is the second time that the Trump administration has basically said, we don't care what Congress wants to do, we don't care what the people want, we're going to hold up our end of the bargain with Putin. So they basically have, I think the act was called the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act, and this law was pretty much meant to impose any new necessary sanctions against Russia. I think this was back in October, and it's just been ignored by the State Department. And they even said this past Thursday, when their deadline came on Monday, the reason they didn't do anything is because they said that there's no exact deadline, that this is apparently the start of the law. So they basically said there's no reason to impose sanctions because there's no time crunch.
They're basically fucking lying.
They're just,
sanctions is what they're
they're
doing.
stalling. And it's crazy because like this is when it really boils down to the Trump administration, or one of the many ways that they clearly obstruct justice, but also it's like the checks and balances that, like the foundation of America. This is so fundamental. They're basically saying we're not going to do what Congress said we're supposed to do because we want to help our friends. It's crazy. It's like this is one of those things where it's so clear that it's split with Trump and Putin versus the world. Like, I don't know why it was voted like 500 to 7.
517 to 5.
Yeah, for this law to pass. And he's just like, nope.
Those are close. That's just a close vote.
Yeah.
I don't know what's so funny.
They eked it out. It just barely.
It's crazy. So,
and Trump, you guys remember, Trump was pissed that he had to sign that into law.
Mm-hmm.
God damn it. They're going to release the P tapes if I do this. And he didn't say that, but that's how
there's just no good reason. There's no good reason besides him helping his friends out and his friends being a foreign enemy. It's like, yeah, just not someone on our side. And
and now Shannon's telling us about Russian oil tankers showing up in Boston.
So this is the creepy part.
Yeah, the Washington Post just does a better job explaining it than I did.
Oh,
just
absolutely.
For the record.
Yeah, no worries. So basically, there is a new tanker carrying liquefied natural gas from Russia's Arctic, and it just arrived in Boston a few days ago. So this is, I think, their way of getting around the new sanctions. And
it's hair product for Trump.
Yeah,
of course. Not entirely Russian gas, though. That's right. But it's a certain percentage of it is.
Yeah.
And that hasn't happened in quite some time.
You'd have to have no sanctions to be able to get those in there.
Feels like a nice test run.
So we have 3 Russian spies visiting in the last 2 weeks. We have 2 Russian boats with some Russian gas on it, or 2 tankers with Russian gas on it, and we've got no sanctions imposed. And we're all supposed to sit here and believe that there was no collusion. That,
whatsoever.
That he didn't not lift sanctions because he was promised something. Whether it was dirt on Hillary or an entire election, or maybe just not to release P-tapes, I don't know.
They got him for something.
Mueller will tell us.
Exactly. But it's just so it's scary. Every week we see him getting closer and closer to just fulfilling his promise, really, to Putin, and we can't do anything about it so far.
Yeah, and this whole war with the FBI, Putin loves it, I'm sure.
Oh, of course, because he's not a Republican. He's just Putin. He doesn't care who wins or loses here. He just wants us all, I think, to just go under.
He loves the idea of our intelligence community being compromised and people starting to question it. It means they could say anything about Russia and it'll be like, LOL, your people don't even believe
they're
you.
crazy. Don't listen to American news outlets. So yeah, it's just fulfilling that promise to him, and it's creepy.
Yeah, that's pretty sad.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Julie. So I appreciate that.
Of course.
And we're definitely going to look into that super tanker situation. That's weird.
It's really
also,
weird.
I mean, the whole reason I want to see just if anyone can look into the fact that any nuclear reactors going up anywhere in Saudi Arabia, because that was one of the whole reasons to lift sanctions or to not impose sanctions in the first place. What's going on with that? Now, we do already currently have some sanctions in place. These are tougher ones from my understanding, so maybe there's just some that he would have to get rid of those sanctions.
Well, they're getting around it too. With this liquefied cargo, they're turning it back into a gas form after it arrives to kind of get, when prohibition was a thing and they had to break down the ingredients of alcohol and then put it back together. It seems like they're doing that with this oil. They're kind of just getting around the sanctions by breaking it down.
But then you wouldn't have to withhold sanctions.
Right.
So there maybe the new sanctions wouldn't even allow the broken down materials. I don't know. I'd have to look into it.
Hopefully, yeah. They just got to stop them somehow. It's crazy.
It just seems like some kind of weird precedent to me. See, we've been doing this though. It's not a big change. I mean, we've been having Russian oil for years.
Yeah,
2 days.
Totally. All right. Thanks so much, Julie. I appreciate that.
Definitely.
Jordan, time to get into No Tilda Nunez.
Yes.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's it.
Oh,
I
right.
was just reading my own personal
yes.
porno notes that aren't involved in this.
So, Mr. Devin Nunes, this very, very popular memo right now everyone's been talking about, was released on Friday, like AG said, and it's supposed to represent evidence of bias on the part of the FBI and others investigating the president, in specific relation to the FISA warrant and how it was obtained, more specifically saying that it was because of the dossier that everything was kicked off, essentially. And the backlash to this is crazy. It's coming from all sides. There's people in law enforcement, politicians, citizenry, just everybody. There are so many people that are super against this being released. I'll just go over a couple of those now that I think were really profound. So on Friday, there was an op-ed written by former FBI Special Agent Josh Campbell. He published an op-ed on the New York Times detailing his resignation from the FBI. And I'm going to read one of his quotes because I think it is really powerful. He says, he's quitting the FBI so he can join the growing chorus of people who believe that the relentless attacks on the Bureau undermine not just America's premier law enforcement agency, but also the nation's security. My resignation is painful, but the alternative of remaining quiet while the Bureau is tarnished for political gain is impossible. So that's an FBI agent that is literally turning away. He just can't. He just literally can't. He literally can't.
Can't even. Comey tweeted that out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
And
saying he's going to be missed. He's really a great guy. So
Comey's been pretty active on Twitter lately.
Oh yeah,
his tweets have been fire.
Yeah,
hot fire. You see his hot, sexy
hot
notes,
hot tweets.
I like that hashtag hot notes.
And then Congressman Gerald Nadler? Have we gotten a consensus on how you say that?
I like
last name?
Nadler. Yeah,
Nadler.
That sounds fun.
He's a head Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee. So he responds to the memo in an NPR interview this week and says that.
Oh, and he's the head Democrat on the House Judiciary, not the House Intelligence Committee.
Okay.
That's Adam Schiff is the head Democrat. The House Intelligence. No, you got it.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to differentiate the HIC and the HJC.
Yes.
The HIC, the Intelligence Committee, is where Nunes is from.
Okay.
Nunes is the majority leader. Schiff is the minority leader. Now we're in the Judiciary, House Judiciary Committee, and Nadler is the top Democrat there. So I just kind of wanted to give a little background on that.
Yes. So Nadler comes out in this interview. It's just a Q&A format. He says that the memo is essentially going against itself in multiple ways. One of the ways is that the memo admits that the investigation had started several months before the dossier because of other info. So we've been talking about this a lot on our past episodes. So that negates them saying that this all was kicked off, or at least trying to give the image that it was all kicked off because of this dossier that they're saying was politically motivated in terms of their gathering of information, which also doesn't matter still.
It's also not true because
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Starts with a RNC, then goes over to the DNC. But okay, and then also he says that the memo admits that the warrant was renewed 3 different times after it was.
Which has to be signed off by 4 people, all of whom were appointed by Trump or Bush.
Yes.
And it has to be renewed. It's every 90 days, right?
Every 90 days.
And the only way that they'll ever extend those is if the previous warrant, was showing more and more evidence that Page was acting as a foreign agent.
You have to add evidence each time you renew.
He's gotta be the worst foreign agent of all time.
He knows
Every report says he's like ambitious and stupid.
Did you see the Pete Brahara quote tweeted someone yesterday saying that apparently Carter Page had been bragging since 2013 that he was an advisor to the Kremlin.
Oh my God.
And Pete Brahara tweeted, LOL, okay. Which just killed me.
Oh
my God.
Yeah, Time magazine found a letter that he had written, I think, as an LOI for some job or something, and he's totally bragging about being a Kremlin
Probably on
advisor.
LinkedIn.
Dude.
LOL,
And Papadopoulos did
LOL, okay.
Papadop did the same thing, right?
Oh yeah.
He had those emails, bragging that he had set up the meeting. It's just all these
Or drunk talking in a pub in London next
All
to the Australian
yes.
guy,
It's a lot of
Alexander
power
Downer,
for idiots
who, by
to
the way,
have.
looks like Michael Caine in Goldmember. It's adorable. I'm gonna put him in the Sexy Justice calendar because he helped turn in Papadopoulos and start.
Michael Caine.
Yeah, Michael Caine. Because honestly, Alexander Downer started the whole FBI investigation. So
Thank you.
That's the Aussie.
yeah. So we love you. Dingo.
Very nice.
Dingo stole my baby.
So just a couple more things. He also says that he fears that this memo is going to be used as a precursor to firing Deputy AG Rosenstein. The White House, of course, is saying that is not at all what's coming. He's not going to be fired, but they also said that Mueller was never, going to be intimidated to leave his job, and that's coming out that that's all Trump wanted to do, and then his counsel advised him not to, and he amazingly listened to them. But it's predictable, I think, that Rosenstein is next. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
That's not
the
fact
next
at
target
all.
for sure.
It just occurred to me that people might think I'm call myself AG because I'm an attorney general.
Oh.
I'm not telling.
Don't correct him.
No, I'm pretty sure everybody knows who the fuck I am. Really, if you don't, it really takes 2 seconds to figure it out.
And then the last thing I think might be the sabotage for the week. Did you find that out, AG? I don't want to step on it. The thing that was released today about the Republicans. The dissenting Republicans.
The suspense is killing me.
No, you know what? We just won't. We'll do sabotage right now.
Oh, sounds good.
It's part of your report. Sabotage.
All right, so
Goes, right?
so this week's sabotage, today it came out that 4 Republican members of the House Intelligence Committee dissented from Trump's view that corruption has poisoned Mueller's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. So they're coming out publicly. There's 4 of them that have come together. They have a unified voice on this, and one of them is Trey Gowdy.
Weird.
Mm-hmm. Who helped draft the memo and said that Trump should not fire Rosenstein and rejected the idea that the document has any bearing on the investigation itself.
Nice.
And then Representative Chris Stewart, who's also on the committee, Republican, says that it would be a mistake for anyone to suggest Mueller not continue his investigation. So
I thought Trey Gowdy didn't have anything to do with this memo. And the reason I thought that was because he wasn't part of Nunes's little secret society of HIC Republicans that were sneaking off. He wasn't part of that. And so I'm wondering, but he says in a video, in an interview that somebody shared with me on Twitter because they were correcting me. They're like, no, he did. He says, I had a giant hand in help crafting this memo. But I'm wondering if he's not being made to say that. Like Trump and Nunes put it together and they're strong-arming the Republicans in the House to say that they all had input on it.
What if he's the one who's been dragging it back? Walking it back. What if he's the voice of reason?
That would be nice.
It would be weird to have the Benghazi guy be the voice of reason.
Oh, absolutely. But if he's like, it's been, 3 days since the memo came out? Yeah. And now he's like, actually, I want to take... It just seems... something is... strange.
I know there's video of him saying he helped craft this memo, but I still think that he doesn't want to have any... I think he's one of the strong-armed ones. I'm going to read through that Monday meeting where they voted on it and see how... It's hard to tell from the transcript.
Right.
Yeah.
But I want to see kind of what he was saying because I feel like...
C-SPAN, give us the video.
Yeah.
Release the video.
No one's ever had beef with C-SPAN. That's amazing.
It's like my porn. Oh yeah, I'm watching the C-SPAN. I remember I was watching C-SPAN one time, and the lady came out. They announce it like golf. Like there's a lady who talks really quiet for the purpose of the television, and she goes, "And now bringing forth legislation are Senators Cox and Dix." And I just lost my shit. I was like, yeah, that's amazing.
It's like Comedy Central right there.
Well,
yeah. That's really all I got. I think it's a very good sign that there's GOPers that are on the actual House Intelligence Committee that are... flipping might be a little bit too much of a word,
I think
but
they're just trying to protect Rosenstein and the Mueller investigation.
They're not perpetuating this plan to undermine all of our intelligence agencies in America.
Right.
So that's a plus.
It's nice that there are people who really can't. They just don't feel right about taking part in discrediting this organization that's really an incredible organization and that has mostly usually just leaned conservative. Mm-hmm. I never thought I'd be sitting here like, protect the FBI, I love those guys.
And they are truly, typically, very conservative people.
Extremely. You have to be
it's like a
super straight edge.
This is crazy.
To work for the FBI, it's hard to get a job with the FBI. They don't have a lot of liberals in the FBI because a lot of us probably smoked weed in high school. And you can't have ever done that in your whole life.
Comey's never got high. We should get him high.
I bet he's just fucking smoking all day.
He's probably chilling. And he's like, chilling.
It's legal here, buddy. Come visit. So that's cool. That covers sabotage. And I also wanted to bring up an interesting note. Judge Contreras, do you guys remember this? I talked about him in episode 6. Go have a listen. He was presiding over Flynn's case, and he recused himself. There was a little mention in the news about it, and I thought that the Republicans were going to grab onto this with both horns and be like, he recused himself, it's all a farce. But they didn't really go anywhere with it. But Contreras, I talked to a lawyer friend of mine, Jordan Parker, about why would Contreras recuse himself? What are some reasons to recuse yourself from the Flynn case? And he looked into it, and it turns out that he is an old FISA court judge. He might have been somebody that signed off on one of these Carter Page FISAs and now cannot be part of this case because of it.
That makes sense, yeah.
So I thought that was just an interesting side note. It really doesn't, affect anything either way, but yeah. I thought that was neat. So, all right, you guys, it's time for the Fantasy Indictment League. And this is a very special Fantasy Indictment League today because I'd like to play a recording of a phone call Jordan and I had with Chris Vega. He's a veteran. He's flipped from Republican to Democrat in the wake of the Mueller investigation. And here's a recording of the chat that we had.
Hello?
Hey, is this Chris?
Yes, it is.
Hey, Chris, it's Allison and Jordan from Mueller, She Wrote. How are you doing?
Hey, guys. Oh, I'm doing great.
Excellent. Hey, we wanted to give you a call today because I ran across your Twitter account and because, we're pretty new on Twitter, and I saw some pretty amazing things in your profile. you know, you're a husband, you're a father, and you're a bull rider. But I also noticed that you're a veteran who has but actually defected from the Republican Party over to the Democratic Party and into the Trump resistance camp. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Can you first of all just tell me a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I'm a self-made man. I'm born and raised in Kerrville, Texas. I joined the military in 2003, served for 10 years. I did 4 combat deployments, two in Iraq, 2 in Afghanistan. I was a bomb technician. After that, I got out in 2011, and, you know, nothing was there for me. I was a lost puppy out in the world. Like I used to tell a lot of people that, you know, the military trains you for war, but when it comes to post-war and trying to get out, you know, and pursue other options, they don't train you for that. And when they just throw you out in the civilian world, you live in your own world amongst this world. So I was a lost puppy, so I had to find something that caught my interest, and that's when I got dared to ride a bull, and I fell in love with it. And a year later, I turned professional, and I started touring with the PBR.
That is so awesome.
That is great.
You're professional, but you are a professional bull rider. That is amazing, and I totally am with you on that, because when I got out, you know, they train you, but like you said, they don't train you on how to transition back into civilian life, and you lose that tribal connection. And so I'm just kind of walking around. I decided to do yoga to relax, and here you are riding bulls. Yes. I think that's fantastic.
Yes.
Now, I wanted to ask you, you defected from the Republican Party over to the Democrats. Tell me how that happened, like why that happened.
I was actually tired of defending Donald Trump. I defended him after he won for a good 9 months. But it was
so this
on and
is
off.
recent. This is recently that you changed sides.
Yes, it was very recent, and I defended him from every lie that he's told, from every fake news argument that he's told, and there's really no point in wasting my energy and wasting my time. When I fought for this country, I didn't waste my time doing that, so why would I waste my time doing this? And then I finally decided to go independent, and I did do a lot of political soul searching, and that's when I found that the Democrats, they're really not that bad of a deal, man. They want everything that the right-wingers want, but they use their heads when doing it, and that's what I like about the Democrats. It's all about unity and family, and let's see what the next guy has to say before we make our decision. That's what I like about the Democrats.
Now, did you vote for Trump? I know you say you supported him for the first 9 months, but did you vote for the guy?
I was not a Donald Trump supporter. I was actually in favor of Donald Trump when he said, I want to run for president. I was like, heck yeah, I love this. And then he opened his mouth, and then I said, no. I said, you don't do that. So I was I was very into Jeb Bush. I was a campaign volunteer. I was a door knocker. I was a donor. I did everything I could to help Jeb get closer to be on the ticket, but he, obviously, we all know how he panned out, and
yeah, I can't believe he did so poorly. I was, I'm a Democrat from 1992 at least, but this time I was a Bernie Sanders supporter because he just wanted to get money out of politics.
Yeah.
But when I was watching the Republican dais, I felt like Jeb Bush is a reasonable. He's the smart Bush. He's the smart Bush. And I also liked Kasich.
Kasich was a good guy too.
He was a little more reasonable. I still disagreed with a lot of their base theories and stuff like that, just based on, I'm more of a democratic socialist and they're Republicans for smaller government. But with Trump, we can't even have those reasonable debates. It's not about small government and big government. It's about stop, dog whistling Nazis and get your finger off the nuclear button. It's a little different. Well, Jordan has a question for you.
Yeah. Okay. First off, Chris, just wanted to say thank you so much for your service. Amazing. We so thankful for you to be on this podcast right now. We've been looking forward to it for a long time. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And so I wanted to know, as a veteran, what does the resistance to Donald Trump and this administration mean to you?
As a veteran, I took a step back before I joined, before I even decided to be full-on resistance, because I I thought it was kind of silly that somebody would say, I resist so-and-so, and this is why I resist, and they pump their fist in the air, and I'm like, that is the silliest most thing. How come they can't just say, hey, I don't like the guy, but why do they have to start a whole movement? But then when you think about it, they're starting their own movement against basically everyone else. It's like when the resistance started, it's a huge F you to Donald Trump because he does not care about anything,
particularly the Constitution. It's
exactly,
and to me as a veteran, that's where the buck stops. Is like if you shit on the Constitution, we got problems.
He spits this image that I care about you, America first, veterans, this and that. But you don't see it. You don't see the transparency ever. And if the first thing in being a leader, you got to take responsibility for things, and that ass is not taking responsibility for one damn thing, and I cannot stand it. So I full on said, I'm going to resist this clown, and I joined the resistance, and I even got emails donating to the resistance, and I, full on. If you read my tweets, I'm very savage. I'm savage when it comes to
you're pretty savage.
When it comes to Donald, I got blocked by Eric Trump, Sean Hannity so far. I take pride in that because they actually they hear my voice, and that's what I like. When Donald Trump said about the resistance in his speech about a month ago, that means something. That means he knows we're here.
Yeah, definitely.
He knows we're out here.
Well, we're certainly glad you're on our side.
Yeah, your voice is so powerful, and AG's too, right? Because you served our country. You did everything that an upstanding citizen, strong, responsible person should do, and then you have to be represented by this piece of shit.
Exactly.
Yeah, and as veterans, accountability is a big deal for us. And if you know, just like Chris was saying, if you can't step forward and be accountable for your actions, you are not that awesome. And you're actually just a piece of shit. But and now I know that you're thinking you've kind of got your eye on running for Congress, maybe in 2020, which I think is fantastic. And we want to start supporting here at Mueller, She Wrote, supporting veterans that are running for Congress, because we want to flip it blue in 2018 and then beyond. So we're actually going to start taking some of our subscriber dollars and donating them to different veterans who are running, and I think the first guy we want to support is somebody who I campaigned for. His name's Doug Applegate here in the 49th in California, and he was going to be running against ISA, but it sounds like he's retiring along with 35 other Republicans from the House. So we hope to flip that district blue. So we'll send a couple of shekels their way. But if you make a run for it, man, I want to know about it. We want to have you back on.
Oh yeah, I mean it's been in talks. It's been, people message me. Today I got a few tweets. Mr. Vega, you need to run for office. We got your back. And I just get so much love out there that I never thought that a few tweets would get. And for somebody who had no followers to get over 10,000 plus, it's like a skyrocket, and people know your name and they know what you're about. And me, I'm about the American people. I fought for the American people. I love the American dream. I've lived freedom. I breathe freedom. I sweated freedom, and I've seen what freedom's all about. And I think I understand what the word America is. And right now, we are not living it under the GOP party. I'll tell you that.
Well, we support you for sure. And we want to ask you now about your picks for the Fantasy Indictment League.
Well, all right. Well, to be indicted, I'm going to say it's going to be Kushner.
Yes.
The reason why I think it's going to be Kushner is because he's not going to take a plea deal against his family. I'll tell you that right now.
Yep.
So Cushy's going to get indicted. I think Carter Page is going to take a plea deal.
Yeah.
And the mole is going to be Kelly. He's the mole.
John Kelly.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's it. I haven't heard that yet.
He's if you think about it, he's military man. In the back of his mind, he's a smart man. He's doing what the boss tells him, but in the back of his mind, he's like, he's probably making his own damn memos. You know what I mean?
He understands
He's probably,
the art of war.
Exactly.
Yeah, like him and Mad Dog.
I wouldn't put it past him that he does what his commander-in-chief says, but then he's going to go back and say, Mr. Trump told me to do this. I think it's bullshit, but I'm going to do it because he's my commander-in-chief. It's
kind of like what Comey did. Comey's like,
exactly.
You know what? Okay, sir. And now I'm going to go and I'm going to write all this down and I'm going to tell 5 guys who mysteriously lost their jobs. Well, you know what? We support you, and when you make a run for office, you let us know. We'll help you out, and we've been really, really happy to have you on. So thank you so much.
No problem. It's been a pleasure, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, you have a great day.
All right. You too.
All right, you guys, that was Chris Vega. Thank you so much for your service, man. And, we really appreciate you coming on here and giving us your views. If you do make a run for Congress, you let us know, because we are going to start donating some of our proceeds from our subscribers to congressional progressive candidates. I know that, everyone's like, are you doing something about the resistance? And I thought, well, we're doing a podcast, but I think maybe I could put my money where my mouth is.
Yeah.
Actually give some money to progressive candidates to flip the House. And that way we can, have enough votes to impeach. And now the Senate, on the other hand, we cannot get enough Democrats mathematically in the Senate to vote him out, to remove him from office if he's impeached in the House. Because removal is a 2-step process. The House has to impeach him,
right,
and then the Senate has to have a 2/3 vote
and
to remove him.
Senators up for re-election?
Even if we won every single seat we were running for, we would only have 59.
Okay.
And I think we're probably going to only end up with like 52 or 53.
Yeah.
And that would be a good on a good day.
Right.
They'd have to go through the entire trial, right? Which would be so public, and the approval ratings would go through the floor.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd like to believe they'd just
resign
err on this side. Yeah, or just vote for impeachment.
Well, here's what I also want to do. I want to start writing Comey. I want to start writing that too. No, I want to start writing Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney is running for Senate in Utah.
That's right.
And he hates Trump. Trump publicly humiliated him. He's always talking out against Trump. And I have this prediction that Mitt Romney will lead a group of Senate Republicans who, like maybe Burr, who was pressured to give up the investigation by Trump. There were 5 junior senators that Trump told to pressure Burr to give up the Russia investigation. Maybe he can get a handful. He would need 9. And plus, including himself. So I think they'll be called the Romney 9. And I think that they could possibly vote to remove Trump. So I'm going to start writing Mitt Romney and be like, you got to, I will send you money for your campaign because the Democrat is not going to win Utah, you guys. There's just no way. I will send you money if you get together 9 guys.
Just one binder full of guys.
One binder guy. Maybe they're ladies.
Whoever, I don't care.
Yeah, right. I don't think there's any lady senator Republican.
We don't have to be so binary, binders full of people.
There you go. Yeah. I love it.
That's so great. So, all right. So I've been hearing a lot of unrest among Mueller supporters yelling at me like I have anything to do with it. Like, when are the indictments coming? When are they coming? And they're upset about how long this investigation is taking. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the timeline of the Mueller investigation and what we can learn from history. Sometimes I wonder how, like, as a society, we're going to reconcile the snail's pace of government as it was designed by the founders to be, with our ever-increasing, speed at which we get information. Our attention spans are dwindling. We get fatigue really easily.
Right.
I believe that the final move of round 1 for Mueller is going to be to interview Trump. And I know we all want the indictments to start dropping, but Mueller may not want to tip his hand by releasing charges until he gets the opportunity to speak with the president. Mm-hmm. We know from previous Mueller behavior that he's very patient, he's very deliberate, and he likes to keep his cards close to his chest. For example, when Mueller found out Manafort met with members of the Senate Judiciary ahead of schedule to turn over notes from the June 2016 meeting and answer some questions, he had the FBI pay him a pre-dawn, no-knock visit to preserve the evidence that night. early the next morning. And Mueller knew that he couldn't allow the White House any time to learn about what Manafort knew so that they could help Manafort either destroy evidence or prepare a defense.
Exactly.
Another example is the interference and eventual cancellation of both Steve Bannon and Hope Hicks testimonies to the House Intelligence Committee. Mueller is he's super meticulous about who knows what and when. And in fact, like everything that we know about the Mueller investigation, we know because he wants us to know.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing all of this, we can assume that Mueller may not want to publicly indict anyone too close to the Trump camp, which is where he's at now in the investigation, because that could give Trump and his legal team clues about what to prepare for or what evidence to destroy. So given all of that, let's assume we have to wait for Trump and his lawyers to agree to an interview before we see any charges close to House Trump. Citing old case law regarding executive privilege and dragging out the negotiations about the conditions of the interview are just a couple of tactics that they're using to stall the investigation. Another tactic is obviously the ongoing attempts by Congress, specifically the House Republicans led by Nunes and the Trump transition team members, to discredit the FBI and the Department of Justice, which is why I'm really happy about that sabotage today. These four Republicans standing up
together,
for the FBI and the DOJ. Take the Nunes memo, for example. It's a small group of House Republicans without cooperation from the ranking member of the House Intel Committee, Adam Schiff. They met in secret, off-site places using classified documents from the DOJ as part of the Russia investigation to basically plot and discredit the rule of law. So it kind of makes you laugh at Senator Ron Johnson's accusation of a secret society in the FBI, because they actually have one in the House Intelligence Committee. And the final tactic is stalling the investigation or the attacks on Comey, the former director of the FBI, Rosenstein, the deputy attorney general that appointed Bob Mueller, and Andrew McCabe, the deputy director of the FBI, chased out of the organization by Trump, though he denies he had anything to do with it. By insisting that Rosenstein signed off on the renewal of FISA warrants to surveil Carter Page, House Trump basically has cause to fire him. And despite the fact Carter Page was under surveillance because he'd been caught up in a Russian spy ring in 2013, which is what you were talking about.
Like, loves to talk about it.
Yeah, he's very, very proud of his time with the Russian spies in 2013. And those 3 spies, 2 of them are on the lam, and 1 of them went to prison, federal prison. So we have Mueller, who may not charge anyone else until he interviews Trump. We have lawyers stalling that interview. We have the GOP attacking the rule of law, and we potentially have the removal of Rod Rosenstein and the installation of a deputy AG more sympathetic to, Trump's needs. All of this could lead to a serious lull in the investigation. Trump could stall for months. Rosenstein could be fired, though I think Mueller has all the evidence he needs and wouldn't have to run any new investigative leads through a new deputy AG. Manafort's trial could get pushed back to the fall. The Trump-Russia investigation could basically sputter out, kind of like Watergate did the first year that it happened.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I would have loved to see Mueller drop the hammer, unseal some plea deals, like from Gates, Hicks, and Bannon, maybe indict Kushner, Cohen, and Sater, eventually subpoena and indict Trump and Trump Jr. I daydream about these things.
The season finale.
I'm a huge nerd steeped in the inner workings of this investigation.
If they do Jr., he's gonna lose it. Trump would lose it. He would lose it.
Papa
if
Trump?
you want, Papa Trump would lose it if Junior got indicted.
Oh yeah,
he would go nuclear.
I would want to see what Eric Trump would have to say, because I love listening.
He'd go full Nosferatu.
He's got big enough gums.
He looks a lot like Nosferatu.
He does, with the gums and the tiny teeth.
I've done a side by side. It's really crazy.
Oh, you need to tweet that at us. Tweet that at us. So, I want to be prepared, you guys. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't want any of you to get discouraged if we don't get our end of Fight Club moment with "Where Is My Mind" playing in the background as the White House implodes. I want you all to think about Watergate, how long that took. From appointment of special counsel to resignation took 15 months. And Watergate, from the Watergate burglary to resignation, took 26 months. So by those numbers, Trump's resignation would happen sometime around August. But that's if you had a Democratic Congress, which we don't have. So we may have to wait until we flip the House and the Senate, and even then we might not have 2/3 votes in the Senate to remove him. So my hope is we finally get to litigate a case for indicting a sitting president. But what I really want to do impart to you guys is to be patient and don't lose hope. we will be here with you till the end of this thing. So that's all. That was my
It's beautiful
news today for you guys. How to deal with
hope.
How to deal with this as a
patience.
As a junkie.
It's a nice note, yeah.
All right, you guys, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for listening to Mueller, She Wrote.
We gotta also give a shout out to the reason Shannon's here in the first place.
Oh yeah, my brother Sean.
Aha!
Biggest fan of Mueller, She Wrote.
Aw.
And he was the one who told me about your podcast, and he was very excited to hear someone from House Woodward be mentioned on the pod.
So cool. Thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you, Sean Woodward. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
It's been great having you on, Shannon, Jaleesa, and Jordan.
Oh yeah, I've been Jaleesa Johnson.
I've been Jordan Coburn.
And I'm AG. Thanks for listening. Mueller, She Wrote is produced by AG with editing by Jaleesa Johnson. Jordan Coburn is our digital media manager. Fact-checking and research by AG with additional research by Jordan Coburn and Jaleesa Johnson. Our web design and creative is by Joelle Reeder with Moxie Design Studios, and our website is MuellerSheWrote.com.